Welcome to Food.Cook.Share. At its core, beef stew is some beef braised in a broth with aromatics and vegetables. It can be thick and hearty, thin and elegant, or something in between. For me, beef stew is the taste of home cooking. Let's do it. When I was growing up, beef stew was a weekly staple. Lots of flavor, hearty, a meal that satisfied kids and adults alike. It starts with 2 medium onions and 2 stalks of celery, chopped. That will give flavor and body to the broth. Next, take 4 large carrots that have been well cleaned but not peeled. This is a rustic dish, so it would be a waste of time and good carrot to peel them. Simply cut the ends off if they don't look good and coarsely chop into 1 to 2 centimeter pieces. Remove the top and the bottom of a medium rutabaga or turnip, whichever you like. I prefer rutabaga. Cut in half and peel the thick inner and outer skin down to the lighter tan flesh, about 3 millimeters. Then divide into quarters and slice into 5 to 7 millimeter pieces. This is a one-pot meal, so we want all the root vegetables to finish cooking at the same time. 30 years of experience with this recipe has taught me that these shapes and sizes do that. Skin-on potatoes are quick and easy, so as long as they are well cleaned and any blemishes are removed, cube the potatoes into quarters or thirds and hold them in water to prevent browning. All the veg are prepped. I have 1 kilo of blade roast, cubed into 3 to 4 centimeter pieces, which are ready for browning, so we're ready to start cooking. Allons-y. Heat a 6-liter Dutch oven on high, then add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and 2/3 of the beef. Sear the meat so that it browns on all sides and forms a nice fond on the bottom of the pot. This will create our broth for the stew. Once the first batch of meat is brown, just move it to one side and brown the remaining meat in the pan with it. By well browning just over half the meat, we will have virtually made our own bouillon on the bottom of the pot that will release when we add the liquid. The rest of the beef just needs to be cooked through, which is much easier than browning 2 batches. Now that all the meat is pretty well cooked, add the onions and celery to sweat and caramelize them a bit too. Once the aromatics are softened and brown, cover with about 3 centimeters of water. Make sure to release all the fond from the bottom of the Dutch oven. Add 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, which were added off camera. Now bring everything to a simmer. Layer the rutabaga and carrots into the broth. Cover and return to a simmer. Cook for 15 minutes until the veggies are mostly done. Now add the potatoes and simmer for another 15 minutes. At this point, the stew is pretty much done, but this would not be my stew without dumplings. These are optional, but not for me. In a medium-sized bowl, stir together 2 cups flour, 4 teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon salt. Stir in 1 cup of cold water, which will form a soft, wet dough. Now is our last chance to adjust the seasoning of our stew. If the stew is seasoned and at a rolling boil, drop forkfuls of dough across the whole top of the stew. Now cover and let simmer undisturbed for 10 minutes without lifting the lid. The dumplings steam on top of the stew, and any loss of steam will make them soggy. The moment of truth. Let's see what we have. That's what I want to see. Mounds of fluffy white dumplings atop a delicious, bubbling stew. Heaven. Since everything is layered into the pot, there is a bit of a technique to serving because we do want to get a bit of everything. We start with 1 nice plump dumpling on one side of the bowl, Then remove layer by layer, placing each new discovery around in a circle. Potatoes, carrots, rutabaga, and finally the beef goes right on top. Add a little broth into the bowl like a thin gravy, and there you have it. The perfect bowl of beef stew with dumplings. Time for a taste. Everything is nice and tender. The flavor of beef has infused into all the veg, but they still maintain their own character. The beef can be cut with a fork. It still has the deep caramelized color from being browned and the flavor to match. The best part for last, the dumpling. If you've ever dipped fresh bread into beef jus, only more tender, that is what this dumpling is like. For me, this is nostalgia in a bowl. Stay safe. Cheers.